Welcome to Vegan Ultra. I'm your inspiration guide, Adam Gallus, on this epic quest for hope, health, and happiness. But today, I am not your only inspiration guide. We are privileged to welcome my brother from another mother, my friend Sean from the Iron Range city of Duluth, Minnesota. Sean, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to Vegan Ultra.
Hey Adam, and hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So Sean, at this point, people know my story. What about you? What is your vegan journey?
I'm super average. I think I'm lucky to be here. So I'll go back to at least how I remember becoming vegan, because one thing that I've noticed since being vegan is that if you try to convert somebody, they will find a way to make sure that you don't get the credit. I'm like, well, it wasn't you it was this other person that, is this thing that I read. So before I was interested in vegan, I don't really remember who was planting seeds for me. But about not quite 10 years ago, I had a sick day. I just had a cold, and I had this habit of, a little bit of maybe Western or Christian or Iron Range or Midwest guilt about work. So I would be sick and I would still want to go to work, and then it would take me a while to recover. So I've had to kind of train myself to, if I'm sick, take a rest day. And I've never liked taking naps. And so I'd be at home, I'd be like, well, I could do laundry, or I could do dishes, or I could run to the grocery store. And then, I'm going to risk infecting other people. So I had to be really disciplined about really staying home and getting rest. And I found that a good way to do that was to just sit on the couch or sit in my bed and watch movies. And at the time, I had this increasing Netflix queue. And so I developed this new strategy. It was open my Netflix queue and scroll until the first thing looks interesting, and don't hem and haw about picking the perfect thing. And there was like, what was it that was in my queue? Donnie Brasco. I've been wanting to see it forever, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna wonder if it's gonna be good or not. I'm just gonna watch it. And so I watched it, and then I was like, oh, this strategy works. I'm gonna do another one. And I sat and watched movies all day, and then I recovered pretty quickly. So then a few months or a year later, I had another sick day, and I had this movie that was sitting in my queue for a long time. It was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh yeah, the 6 months juicing.
Yeah, with Joe Cross, I think.
Oh yeah, the Australian businessman.
Yeah, it's a super engaging documentary. It was sitting in my queue forever. It was the first one that looked interesting, and I watched it. And that movie featured Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He did some advising on the fast. And so Netflix was like, oh, you like these kind of documentaries? You should watch Vegucated. So then I watched Vegucated, and so I just had a normal sick day, like a cold. And then 3 hours later, I was like, oh, I think I'm vegan now. And that was pretty much it. Like I started Joel Fuhrman was featured in Vegucated as well. And so I thought, well, I need to make sure that I'm not just getting sucked into a cult based on compassion, like pulling the heartstrings. Things look bad, like the animal agriculture industry looks bad because it's really bad. But I was really encouraged by starting with Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the juice fast, the incredible health turnaround. It made a lot of light bulbs go off for little nuggets and bits and pieces that I think I had accrued over the years, just an interest in nutrition. I think I had an inclination to be interested in nutrition, but I didn't know where to go with it or what to do with it. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna try to verify some of this research for myself. So my first lead is this Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And so the next day I went to the bookstore and I was looking for, I think the book that they were talking about at the time was gosh, what was it called? Well, it wasn't The End of Dieting. It was an older Joel Furman book. But I went to the bookstore and they had The End of Dieting. And I picked that up and I read that book cover to cover, and I went back to all these different portions of it dozens and dozens of times. Because when I was first going vegan, I kept thinking that it can't be that the answer is just that you have to give up literally every single animal product. It can't be that simple. It has to be that, like, the fear mongering around red meat is overblown. So, like, maybe beef isn't really so bad. And so I go into the End of Dieting, and there'd be a whole section on beef, like specifically on beef. And I would read that and I would go, oh man, no, I can't eat beef. Like, maybe chicken isn't as bad as I was thinking when like in the momentum of reading the book. So I go to the section on chicken. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna ever eat chicken. This is horrible. But, like, are eggs really that bad? Like, maybe I can still have, like, I can go into, like, eating eggs for breakfast and I'll feel good, and I read about eggs again. I'm like, no, they're the worst possible thing. So I tried really hard to make it so that I didn't have to be vegan, that I could eat a lot more plants and not be vegan, but it wouldn't work. I couldn't do it. However, at the same time, all of the blogs and, like, YouTube channels and Facebook posts and Reddit threads were chock full of people telling you that, oh, don't worry, out of everybody that's tried to go vegan, 99.9% of them have quit. And it's not possible, and you can't be perfect, and these doctors are full of it, and they're lying to you, and they're misrepresenting the studies. And so I was overwhelmed. I was looking for, I wanted the hard data, and looking for other sources of data. I came across is he a doctor? T. Colin Campbell.
Oh yeah.
And so what I started with was the China study, and I found the book, and it was enormous, and I didn't have a huge appetite for reading something that it was that focused on cancer. It was super intriguing, but I wanted to find somebody who could make sure that I was actually pointed in the right direction, somebody who's not just, a fitness blogger or an anti-vegan blogger, a failed vegan blogger, whatever it may be. I emailed Colin Campbell, and he was so gracious. He emailed me back.
Oh wow.
And it was great. He said, yeah, Sean, just don't worry about it. Your body is resilient, so keep reading. You're doing the right thing, and eat lots of plants. And the more you learn as you're reading, the more you're going to find in your experience that eating lots of plant foods is going to take care of you. You're going to feel great, and you're going to have the experience that's going to match, the wealth of reading that you're going to do. And I was really, I was appreciative of the person who actually responded to me with that email, but I was also frustrated that, like, it didn't give me, like, I wanted somebody to, like, zoom in on, like, well, here's this thesis, and it's written in one paragraph, and it will rule out every question that you've had that's dissuading you. Like, there is no such thing. It was true. I had to eat. I had to trust my instincts, and I had to trust the data that was presented, and I did, and I kept eating a mostly whole foods diet because I wanted to give it the best possible chance of succeeding. I didn't want to fall for the traps of these bloggers who were telling you that, oh yeah, everybody caves and eats ice cream, otherwise it's not reasonable. And, like, everybody has everybody, like, you need to have it for your mental health. You need to be able to go to McDonald's or Pizza Hut and have one of your comfort foods. Nobody's actually fully vegan. I didn't want to fall into that trap. So I went for, like, all mushrooms and onions and lentils and beans, and I didn't like mushrooms and I didn't like beans, and I had to find a way to make it work. So I did, and it went insanely well. And I had some ups and downs after that. I wasn't eating enough calories, and I was the same size that I am now. I'm a super skinny. I've always been a small, lightweight guy. I was not interested in losing weight. I never counted calories in my entire life. I didn't know that that was a thing, but I wasn't eating enough. I was eating too many whole foods that were not calorie dense enough, and so I had to learn over time what to do about that. So I had some ups and downs for the first couple of years, but then my wife got on board, and my older sister got on board, and my mom pretty quickly got on board, and then once you have a little tribe, it makes it a lot easier. So after some trial and error with figuring out what were the right foods for me over the course of the first year and a half or so, it's just gotten easier and easier, and it's been phenomenal. So yeah,
so just out of
make a short story
curiosity.
long.
No, I just very. So, how old are you? And so you've been vegan for 10 years.
Not quite 10 years. I think it's been about 9. I also have to look it up. I think I traced it back. I was able to, like a few years later, I was able to backtrack because I remember I was starting to get sick when I was going to a boxing match with a friend of mine. And then, so I was able to look up the date of that boxing match. And I have it marked in my calendar now, but I think it was in April or March of 2014. So I think I'm coming up on 10 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm 37 years old now.
Ah, perfect. 37, exactly my age.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting story because I, like many people, struggled with my weight all of my life, and you apparently blessed one of those people that never had to think about calories. But so just curious. So for anyone who is in a similar situation as you, what did you find? Because the foods you're talking about, like mushrooms, are about 100 calories a pound. So it's like if you're eating lots of mushrooms, you'd need to be eating 20 pounds a day. So what did you do to get to those calories that you needed?
Let's see. Well, the very first thing, there was actually a day in the first couple of weeks when I didn't have any data yet, and everybody I was surrounded with was like, "Oh, I'm worried about you. Like, I'm worried about what's going to happen to your health. And, you're a really compassionate guy, and I think that you're falling victim to your feelings for what you think happens to animals. And, like, veganism isn't normal, and you're falling victim to these snake oil salesmen." And I was really frustrated, and it hadn't even occurred to me that I wasn't getting enough calories, because it wasn't part of my worldview at all. So that, like, for the first couple weeks, I wasn't connecting why I wasn't feeling good. It didn't occur to me that I wasn't getting enough calories. So one day, I am not kidding, I panicked, and I was like, I just have to go eat something that I've eaten before. And I lived right next to McDonald's, and I thought about going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac. But then I was thinking about all the stuff that was in the book, and I was thinking about everything that was in Vegucated, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. And in Duluth, we have a shop called Northern Waters Smokehouse, and they do like smoked salmon, and they have like bison meat, and I don't know if they do like elk and stuff. And so in my panic, I thought, what if all of this is wrong, and I need to eat something that I've felt good on before, and if it's bison, then it's probably not factory farmed. So I ran to Northern Waters Smokehouse, and I grabbed a half pound of bison and some crackers, and I came home and I started eating them, and I felt better after I ate that. And then I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I had this panic and had to go like resort to something that wasn't at all vegan. And then that kind of helped set me straight. And then I think it was after that the light bulb clicked that it was calorie density. And I think somebody helped me. My wife might have helped me with that, because I think she's a normal person who has had to think about calories. And she's like, yeah, maybe that's probably what happened. She was probably like, well, you were eating. What did I eat when when I was first like? Because Dr. Furman's advice is to eat your G bombs, which is your greens, beans, mushrooms, onions, berries, and seeds. And he wants you to eat those every day. And yeah, that's a little bit like a variation on Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. Um, and so I I was eating like portobello mushrooms and like small amounts of lentils, and then like lots of onions and fruit. And what else? I made this meal with a portobello mushroom and a side of lentils, and I had like onion and pineapple, and I think I might have had like some potatoes on the side. So it was probably like eating a cooked salad. There's like a
Yeah.
few hundred
No,
calories.
what you're describing, other than like the lentils, it sounds like it's maybe 400 or 500 calories a pound.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know,
it wasn't enough, and I didn't know that, and I'm pretty sure it clicked for, yeah, it probably clicked for my wife, and she's like, yeah, look at all the calories you just ate with this like bison deli meat and crackers. That's what happened. So then after that, I was like, well, Oreos are vegan. So I got Oreos, and like those kind of got me by. It's more calories than like a clementine. Oh yeah, because like before I went to the Oreo, like I was like, well, I'll get this big bag of clementines, and every time I feel hungry, I'll throw in another clementine so I can at least get through my day. And
213 calories a pound, actually.
yeah, exactly. So it helped a little bit, and then that got me on the track to realizing that it was about calories. And then eventually I found my way into getting a super calorie dense breakfast, and I did that with oatmeal. And I don't eat oatmeal every day. I have to really be disciplined about staying on track and eating the right foods, because I know all of the right foods. I know what works for me. I'm just one to slip off and wake up in the morning and be like, well, I don't feel like it today, so I'm not going to. I don't have a bad day. But my oats right now, it's whole rolled oats. I prefer those over steel cut just for the taste and the texture. And then it's chia and flax seeds, walnuts and pecans, a dash of clove and cinnamon from Dr. Greger's recommendation to like super boost the antioxidants, and then frozen berries. And I'll put a splash of water on that to moisten the oats and the flax and chia. And I overload this bowl to the point that I have it make up 800 calories. And if I haven't been eating that every day, I have to build up to it from about 600 calories worth. But then once I get used to eating that amount, I can eat an 800 calorie bowl of breakfast in the morning. And that's my best recipe for success, is a lot of calories earlier in the day, and then a couple meals, like a lunch meal and a dinner meal, that they can be a little bit.
It looks like the oatmeal is about 1,600 calories a pound. So it looks like that's definitely been helping you.
Yeah. And when I first started narrowing down the oatmeal breakfast, I started with oats, and I would because when I was a kid, I would get like Quaker oats, like the instant oatmeal, like the peaches and cream and the blueberry were my favorite flavors. I would mix them together. I thought, well, I can eat something that's healthier than that. It's less sugary. And I ate oats, and I saw people were eating oats with like apples and cinnamon, or they would put peanut butter in them. And so I would take oats and peanut butter, and then a bunch of cut up strawberries and strawberry jelly. And then it was really good. It was like eating a breakfast pie. And
it looks like the ground flax seed, like most seeds, is around 2,500 calories a pound. So this is some really great information for anybody who, like, especially if you're sick or if you have kids and you're worried about getting enough calories. Absolutely, it's like the seeds and like some of these grains and the lentils. That's where you can find the calorie density between about 1,000 and 2,500 calories a pound, and that's about 3, 4, even 5 times that of the normal vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope this is helpful for people, because like I said, when I was first getting going, and I didn't know all of the really good data sources, and you don't just go to NIH and start looking up studies. Information age, you don't know where to start. You don't know where to go. So it's easy to go find bloggers, and it's, we all know about confirmation bias, how easy it is to, you know, ask your question to Google and have it give you the exact answer that you want. But when I was first looking around, all these bloggers that were like, yeah, veganism doesn't work, you're going to fail. There was this trope that I found was really common at the time, that people would do an analysis and they would tell you, oh yeah, if you want to eat a strictly vegan diet and you want to get your calories, that's going to be the equivalent of like this many pineapples or like, this many coconuts. And then they'd be like, yeah, just like if it's this many hundreds of bananas or this many dozens of, pineapples in a day, imagine whatever combination, like you could mix it up, but you still can't eat that much food. Yeah, okay, fine. So that's a person that doesn't take it seriously and is maybe not very interested in finding out that once you figure out what foods work for you, it's not that big of a deal. It's I think if you want to reduce your calories or if you want to boost your calories, you could probably find something that works for you with probably mostly whole foods. That oats breakfast is my foundation, and I didn't think I would get a completely whole foods breakfast figured out that would get me 800 calories. And I'm doing that. I'm not really overdoing it too much with the nuts and seeds. I could reduce those a little bit if I want to, but for me, I'm a good candidate for having, a little bit on the higher side for fat, because I don't really have much body fat and I don't have a tendency to gain or hold weight. If I eventually get disciplined and build a little bit of body weight, maybe I can shift that a little bit so there's a little bit less of the walnuts, pecans, and seeds, and a little bit more of just the oats and the berries.
Well, I want to congratulate you actually, because I remember just doing a recent video here, and let me show people that daily nut consumption, that's a 20% reduction in mortality. So that's about 2 to 4 extra years of life, statistically speaking. So nuts, that's definitely one of those healthy foods. And I really want to congratulate you, because from what I've seen in my binging vegan YouTube for 6 months, is that there's a lot of people who quit, who, like you, that they don't quite know the nutrition behind it. There's like something wrong where, like, this is a perfect example at Thanksgiving, where like the average American is eating 1,000 calories per pound and 4 pounds at Thanksgiving, about a 4,000 calorie meal. It's like, well, if you eat, like a vegan meal like I just had, even a bit processed, but it's about 1/3 the calorie density. So it's like, if you eat that same 4 pounds, you're not going to have many calories. I ate 3,000 calories for 8 pounds, twice the volume, and still less calories. So this is just one example where it is like, if someone is deficient in something, generally it is energy and calories. They'll be like, oh man, I tried this for a month. I just felt tired. I couldn't work out. I just, the brain fog that people talking about. And so they just like, well, obviously this doesn't work. And this is why, people quit. And I just, showed people the UK study where there's actually about 3% of vegans in the UK have been doing it for 30 years. Another 3% have been doing it for 20 years. Another 6% have been doing it for at least 10 years. And for context, only 3% of Americans stick to a diet for 2 years. So it's like the failure rate is astronomical. And meanwhile, we have got vegans who are just doing it for decades. And the key is, I want to thank you, and the courage to even admit that it's like, you were fresh in, and you ran out and you ate some bison, and it's just like, I mean, man, it's like I was the same way, but living on like Oreos. I mean, I wasn't living on Oreos, but I was junk for the first few weeks too. I was trying to figure out. It's like this whole food. It's just like, you got to find something that's like a staple. And it sounds like, for you, it's like the oats and the seeds. And it's just like, I am just like so happy for you, man, that you made it. That you made it.
Thank you.
A decade. You are a hero to your people, celebrating both song and legend. Thank you so much for inspiring me, for inspiring whoever is watching this. And tell me, it's like, we have a few more minutes. I was just, wondering, you mentioned your wife. And I think your sister and I think your mother-in-law. So it's like 3 other people. So what did basically, like, how did that happen? Did you basically, like, did you evangelize them, or did they just see the transformation and be like, wow, you are awesome and I want to be like you?
it was a combination, and this is what makes me appreciate the concept of planting seeds. And I always chuckle when I see people like, well, it wasn't because of you, it was because of this other thing. I My wife, I have to like rag on her a little bit for this in a way that I need to also show the appreciation, because she was one of the people that at first she's like, well, I don't want you getting unhealthy and falling for your feelings and these snake oil salesmen. And then it didn't take too long before I think she reverted back to, she had an interest in it before I ever did, and an interest in veganism specifically. And so when either of us retells our vegan story, she likes to talk about how she and I went vegan at the same time. And I'm like, no, I went vegan, and you tried to stop me. But what at the time, what wasn't clicking for me was that, sometime earlier than my interest, she had an interest in it. I think she brought it up to me, and I must have been dismissive. I must have been like, no, that's dumb, or do whatever you want, I don't care. Doesn't have anything to do with me. I love my steaks, bacon, or whatever, I don't know. So she already had an interest in it, and then in her intimate relationship, you have clashes for whatever reasons, and you've got concern for each other. You're watching each other, making sure you both stay steady and make good decisions. And I think her concerns got the better of her. And then at some point she's like, okay, my husband is eating vegan. He's a smart guy. He's not going to die. He's not going to join a cult. He's not going to do something completely wrong. And actually, I was interested in veganism a while ago, so I'm going to go look into it too. So I think it must have been, I don't know, a month or so after I went vegan that she became interested, and she started doing some trials. And her approach is not to dive in head first. My approach is to dive in head first, and I was trying to get rid of stuff that I had in the house, and she was trying, she took a really smart approach where I think we weren't following Dr. Barnard, but now that I listen to Dr. Barnard, she was taking his approach, where you go out and explore and you find things that are going to work for you. And then we both kind of got off the wagon for a while, where I wasn't even eating plant-based for a while. This is during that first year and a half. And then I had told my sister, and this is my older sister, and so she's about a year and a half older than me. We're both influences on each other. I kind of look at her as one of my major role models in life, but I've got some of my unique strengths and attributes that are a little bit different and complementary to her. So in some ways, she's definitely my big sister, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but there are some aspects that she might look up to me a little bit. So I thought, I don't want to say anything that's pushy, but I can't not let her know. So I gave her a call one day and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm vegan now. And she's like, oh, okay, interesting. And we didn't talk that much more. And then some number of months later, my wife and I went to visit her when she was living in Florida, and she was like, I have this friend who keeps trying to get me interested in these vegan topics, and she keeps sending me this Gary Yourofsky video. And since you're vegan, I thought you would watch it with me. So I think it was we went for a Thanksgiving weekend, and I think maybe the day after Thanksgiving we watched this Gary Yourofsky video, and she had the same reaction I did at the end of the video. She's like, I think I'm vegan now. And she did the same, dive in head first. The next day we went to get food somewhere, and she was like, I don't think I can ever have milk again. And so she pretty much dove in head first. I had given both of my parents some books to read. I had tried to watch some videos with them. I think I tried to get them to watch Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead with me, and um, there was some other documentary that was on Netflix. I don't remember if I tried to get them to watch Forks Over Knives with me. Just depends on what was on there at the time. And they had some interest, and then once my sister went vegan, then it was kind of okay. Now my older sister, my wife, and I are all three vegan. I've been trying to get them to watch some of these videos, read some of these books. Now my sister is trying to send them information, get them to read some books, watch some videos, and then I don't know what it was, but a light bulb clicked for my mom not long after that. And she's like, yeah, you know what? She wanted to learn what she could work on so that she could be a good host when either of us come to visit. And, you know, she's got a lot of pride in us. You know, she's an incredible mother, and she's very proud of her kids, and she sees us as very intelligent and valuable. And if we think something is worthwhile, she probably wants to know about it. So she figured it out pretty quickly. And she started going plant-based. And so, yeah, now it's me, my wife, my older sister, and my mom are all vegan and have been for years. In fact, we had a vegan friend come visit for Thanksgiving last weekend. And so in my house, the non-vegans were my dad and my grandpa, and the vegans were me and my wife and my mom and this friend. So there were twice as many vegans in my house for Thanksgiving. That was a record.
Well, thank you so much. It's just been absolute pleasure, you know, talking with you, meeting you. I mean, I already, you know, we've chatted on Facebook, and it is so nice to meet a kindred spirit. And, you know, I look forward to, you know, talking with you. Hopefully, you know, if people like this and if you enjoyed it, I know I certainly did. I'd like to make this like a weekly thing where we can just, you know, discuss, you know, I mean, the thing you learn about veganism is that this touches every part of our lives, of the world. I mean, literally it's kind of like, you know, I talk about how this is kind of like, you know, feeling like Harry Potter. That is like you learn about a whole new world with rules that work backwards, and it's just like, oh, we have healthy fats that'll lower your cholesterol and make you live longer, and it's just like, and but it's also like the Matrix, where it's just like you learn, you basically learn just how everything is connected, and of course it's like we cannot actually comprehend the entire complexity, but you know, the stuff that we'll be able to talk about, I mean, it's kind of, you know, just like 50% of the biomass of the world is microbes, and it's like the book Dirt, or no, it's like the hidden half of I think it's a hidden half of nature, is like it's just like, when you learn how everything works, it truly is. It is like you could see why people feel that this is almost spiritual. That it's just like everything is so connected. How the microbiome, it's like it functions with us. How it's like how you know, the ecology of us, our bodies, of the earth, of the ocean. How, I mean, this is spaceship Earth. It is 4 billion years of evolution, and that is why everything seems so perfect. And it's like when you learn all these documentaries, all these books, and all the stuff that we'll be talking about, how it's just like, you know, all the problems that we now face come from the fact that humans, we became smart enough that we thought we were smarter than nature, that we were apart from nature, that we could conquer nature. We will have dominion over nature. And it's like, no. Then you learn that you are not smarter than 4 billion years of evolution, especially when you think about how some bacteria divide every 20 minutes. So it's like literally it's 50 generations a day. You cannot beat that. But if you work with it, then that's when you harness the science-based magic and nutrition-fueled sorcery that you've experienced, I've experienced, your wonderful family has experienced. So I want to thank you, Sean, and I want to thank everyone who joined us today for our first, interview with Sean. That it's just like now we have two inspiration guides to help evangelize the world, so we can show people that it's not just one guy walking a lot and losing 150 pounds in a year. No.
No, there's at least two.
Yes, there's two of us, and it's like maybe one day we'll find someone who lives outside of Minnesota, so it's it's not just Minnesotans. It's just like, but we'll basically we'll grow it what we can to inspire as many people as possible, because this is the way nature intended for all of us. It is a gift that can turn all of us into superheroes if we just give it a chance. Thank you so much for joining me and Sean. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, so other people can find it on YouTube, and join us next week when we'll talk again with Sean about some more incredible aspects of a Blue Zone vegan lifestyle.